Hey guys, sorry it took so long, but we're finally covering ginger snaps today. Let's get started on making my ginger snaps. 3 sticks of butter. To that, I'm going to add my sugar, so I need to turn my scale on. Set it to ounces. And I'm just going to keep adding sugar until it reaches 16 ounces or 1 pound. And I'm going to set this aside, and the butter can start coming up to room temp while I measure out my dry ingredients. For dry ingredients, I'm going to start off with 10 ounces of gluten-free all-purpose flour. And the only thing I need a measuring cup for now is just to dump flour into my bowl. And I'm just going to keep adding until my scale shows 10 ounces. Next up, I'm looking for 11.2 ounces of brown rice flour. So ingredients like spices and leaveners that require small amounts, I do go ahead and just use my measuring spoons for. So I need 2 teaspoons of powdered ginger, and my full teaspoon doesn't actually fit into the jar. See? So I'm going to do 4 of my half teaspoon measure to get 2 teaspoons total. And then for spices where you can actually stick the spoon in like this, what I do is I have the opening at the top, I put the spoon in upside down, and then I flip the whole thing over, and then I scrape along the flat edge here to level my spoon. So I need 1.5 teaspoons total of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of cloves. Now, there's no easy way to measure ground pepper, at least not freshly ground pepper. So I need a half teaspoon of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a smaller vessel, and I think it'll probably be about 25 grinds or so to get approximately the right amount. And then I can measure how much I've got and see if I need more. There we go, half teaspoon of black pepper. Next up, I'm going to need 2 teaspoons of a good quality baking soda. One of the biggest favors you can do for yourself when baking is to get a good quality baking soda, not the stuff in the orange box. And half a teaspoon of salt. Then I'm just going to whisk this up, break up any lumps in my flour, and get my spices and leaveners evenly dispersed. So I've got my bigger bowl with the butter and sugar, and I'm going to beat this together. Okay, now that I've creamed my butter and sugar together, I need to add my wet ingredients, to include 5.6 ounces of molasses, 2 eggs. Remember, always crack on a flat surface. And 2 teaspoons of grated ginger, and yes, I use the stuff in the tube. You can use fresh if you want, which around the holidays you might make enough ginger snaps to keep it on hand, but I find that I just don't use a whole lot of ginger outside of occasionally making some Asian dishes, so I just keep it in the tube in the fridge. So I'm going to mix up my wet ingredients with my butter and sugar, and then I will add my dry ingredients. Next I'm going to add my dry ingredients in 3 separate additions, mixing thoroughly in between each one. And second addition in. And the last of my dry ingredients are going in. Okay, so scrape any extra dough off your beaters that you can. And then I just need to wrap my dough in plastic and chill until it is fairly solid. So now I'm just going to press my dough into a log shape using the plastic. And I'm actually going to wrap it. And I'm going to throw this in the fridge to chill. My dough is now well chilled. I have a liner on my scale. And I'm going to actually measure these out by weight individually. I like using the scale. You could eyeball it if you want, but then your bigger ones are going to end up too light, maybe even still doughy, and your small ones are going to burn. So I'm looking for 0.7 ounces. Next up, I need to roll my individual cookies into balls and coat the outside in sugar. So give this a shake. Shake off any excess sugar and place back onto the tray. Now I'm just going to use my middle two fingers and press down on the middle a little bit to start these spreading out. This will prevent a dome from forming in the middle of the cookie, because eventually that dome spreads out. It leaves a weird wrinkle around the outer edge. Okay, before I put my cookies in the oven, I just want to let you guys know a few things about ovens. One, they're pretty much never calibrated correctly. Mine's actually a little bit hotter than it should be, so I've got mine set to 345. You might need yours at 350, 360, you might even need yours lower. Secondly, a lot of ovens have hot spots, so different areas of the oven will be warmer than others. So at about 8 to 10 minutes in, I'm going to take the rack on the bottom and switch it with the rack on the top, and I'm also going to turn them both where the front edge that had been facing the door will face the back of the oven and vice versa. So these cookies could take anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes depending on your oven and exactly how big you decide to make your cookies. Okay, so my cookies look perfect. Now, cookies need to first cool on the pan just long enough to actually set up for 2-3 minutes or so. Then I can transfer them to my wire rack to cool completely. I don't want to try moving them now though, because they're still really soft when they're hot out of the oven, so they'll just fall apart immediately if I try to move them now. So I'm going to let them set up on the pans and then I can transfer them to my rack. Okay, so my ginger snaps are done and they look perfect, like just so gorgeous. I recommend serving with some homemade eggnog. If you aren't a fan of eggnog, which I know some people aren't, those people are wrong, but anyway, if you aren't a fan, then I also recommend a dark roast coffee to enjoy with your ginger snaps. Now for the moment of truth. My ginger snap And basically what I want is a nice crunchy exterior, and then the very middle of the cookie should be just a little bit chewy. And then of course lots of big ginger flavor. Okay. Like I said, big crunch on the outside, and then the very middle, just right there, is still a bit chewy. And of course the flavor's delicious. You guys might remember earlier I put some black pepper into my ginger snaps, and that helps a lot with adding to the spicy profile. So good. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to learn how to make my famous ginger snaps. And I'll see you guys next time on the Deglutenizer.